First of all, I loved the show. I really enjoyed it. What were sort of the specific kind of creative influences from, Italian cinema and Italian media that you wanted to bring to a sort of wider audience for this?
Our starting off point was definitely to embrace sort of Italy's cinematic heritage, right? And so the whole movement of neorealism and I think that has been a driving force in a lot of more recent film and television that has come out of Italy and actually traveled globally. It's about that very grounded, hyper-realistic Italy where you're not afraid to be gritty, where you're outside of the confines of stereotypes and cliches. In this show in particular, highlighting a city that is, even for Italy, incredibly unusual to see on screen, and also looking to our not so distant past, a very specific period in Italian history, to create this future. And all of that sort of art, architecture, fashion, music is reinterpreted to create this very near future. So you have this, incredible electronic music collective called Mocadelic, and for the first time, they're contaminating their music with instruments from the 1920s, like the clarinet, like all of that. And that, I think that is part of the production design, the costume, the locations.
Matilda, with Diana, it feels like we're sort of witnessing the birth of like a new action heroine, a hero.
Yeah.
How excited were you to be able to infuse your own kind of personality with that and like just basically show off how badass you could be on screen?
I was very happy about it. I have a past as a gymnast, so from the age of 4 to the age of 12, I used to do competition every month and train 4 times a week. So I have I have a heritage, a muscular memory that helped me to go through the 4 months of training that I wanted to do and I wanted to face to, be able to perform most of my stunts and, give reality to and layer to the character. So I always say while I was reading the script, I was only think about that because we don't get the chance that often, especially as women, to perform something like that. And I thought I could do it. I saw it as a challenge and as a possibility of growth. So I took it.
And with Diana especially, do you think that her personality and her look, her style, obviously people will talk to you about the haircut.
Yeah, they do.
But I thought just the costuming especially was just as striking as the hair. Do you see, based on the reception you've had so far to the character, in years to come, you'll maybe see people dressed up as Diana, Comic Cons with the haircut, the coats on.
I immediately thought about the Comic Con world because I do come from that world in a way because my father was a comic book drawer, so I grew up with superheroes and stuff, and I really hope that this kind of character could have a grip on that world, and maybe they will.
That'd be fun, I think.
Yeah. That would be fun.
Halloween's around the corner.
Yeah.
Well, the show's coming out just at the right time for Halloween.
Perfect.
So.
Yeah,
exactly.
perfect.
Obviously, Citadel, by its general nature as a spy show, is a kind of a globe-trotting show to show off different parts of the world. With the fact that you've got Italy's the base and Milan, but obviously we've got the Alps too, and it's different parts of that, the beautiful parts of Europe. Does that give you more freedom in terms of developing the show to think we can really show off different parts of Europe and where we're from to wider audiences and show there's a lot more than what you might see on film or television that you're used to because, we can show the best parts of our country?
Absolutely. I mean, again, it was so important for Italy in particular to stay far from places that have been shot, reshot, that are in the sort of global lexicon and imagination as representative of Italy, because while they are places that are incredible and magnificent, you can't define a country by 3 or 4 spectacular cities. Yep. So, and then, in deciding to tell our story from the point of view of Manticore, Italy, in particular, and through the eyes of a Citadel agent trapped behind enemy lines, we wanted, knowing that Manticore was made up of 8 founding families, it felt important to sort of expand that and say, okay, who represents Europe in particular? And it was important. It was important. And what I love is that we have today the kind of freedom which maybe 10 years ago or, we didn't have, where, you see these heads of the family and they can speak to each other in whatever language. And I think language is a very important aspect of this show, in the sense that for veracity, often European people speak more than one language. Yeah. And in our show, it's also a power dynamic, where who has the most power is commanding what language you speak at a certain point, right? So it's cool.
I thought the point you make about the language is actually quite interesting. I thought particularly in the first episode when the heads are sitting at the table speaking different languages to each other and just like that.
Right.
I like the fact that it also makes the show feel more open and international, and it makes it feel inclusive to everybody, because people will come into it and see subtitles and maybe they'll be put off somewhat by that. But if you stick with it, there's language there for everybody in it, which I think is what makes it the most appealing to a bigger audience.
Yeah, and I appreciate you saying that. I had made a show several years ago called 000, and in that show there are 8 different languages, and years ago it was a bit of a battle to make such an ambitious show on a global scale, and not try to create excuses that, a Bedouin in the middle of the Sahara Desert also speaks English. You know what I mean? Like, those are the kind of notes that sometimes you get or expect, and how much easier it is today to be able to do that and no one questions it, Yeah.
I suppose the last thing I'd like to ask really is, it is set, in the future with the kind of futuristic, but also there's a fascist element to it as well. Do you think that it's just kind of a fictional aspect to it, or do you think that there is the danger that the world could be heading in that direction, and that's the sort of thing where you can maybe make commentary on it because you see where the world could be heading in a dangerous direction with control from bad places, essentially?
I mean, listen, Citadel Diana is a show that does not have any political aspirations and is not making a statement. The fact that the world is the way it is today, you certainly don't need a show like Citadel Diana to sort of highlight it. But it was important in our Citadel world to show what the world would be like if Citadel didn't exist, and that a nefarious organization like Manticore took over. And every audience member will take from that what they want.
Yeah,
that's great. Thank you so much for your time
Thank
today.
you so much.
Really
appreciate it.